Adam has memorized his place in line.
I did.
I just want to remind everybody, the psychologist reduction was a motion that was made by a single member, seconded by another member, and was tabled. So there hasn't been a vote to actually put it in the budget. It's been tabled for further discussion. Just make that clear. Excuse me?
Vote now.
We're in the middle of a public hearing. We can't. Mr. Marcoux.
Adam Marcoux, 4 Jalori Lane. I'm the president of the Nashua Teachers Union. I have one child at Maine Dunstable Elementary School. I would be remiss if I didn't address comments made about kindergarten and comments made about our educators in this city. How dare you? You address our teachers that way. You have no idea what they do every day in this school. I'm addressing Mr. LeBrun, who's not here. How dare members of this community address our teachers the way they did? They have no idea what is going on in our schools every day. I don't know the last time they entered one of our schools and saw what our kindergarten teachers do, what our 5th grade teachers do, our middle school teachers, our high school teachers. This is not the 1950s. This is 2017. Mrs. Breen just addressed the crises that we deal with every day in our schools, and people don't have a clue in this city, and it's time to wake up. I will not sit back and allow members of any board, elected or not, to speak about our teachers like that. They should be ashamed of themselves. And I would expect this board to say something in response to it to defend our teachers and our staff that work hard every day. That is unacceptable. Our educators work in the best interests of our students every day, regardless if they are identified or not. Whether that's the guidance counselor, the nurse, the school psychologist, the food service worker, the secretary, the teacher, the para, the custodian, whoever works in that school. Kids make connections with who they feel comfortable with, and that's just as important as everything everyone else does in this school. People on this board and other boards in the city need to be educated. I'm tired of hearing about state minimums and minimum requirements. Do you go to restaurants with minimum requirements? Do you go stay at hotels with minimum requirements? Do you take business that does work on our schools that meet minimum requirements when you send them out to bid? I find that hard to believe if you do. So why are minimum standards acceptable for our school district? I'm tired of hearing, well, we're above state minimum. Good. We should be. We should be proud to be above state minimums in guidance, and school psychologists, and teachers in class size, and any other state minimum we have in this city. 2 board members suggested that we outsource school psychologists. Well, as president of the union who represents those school psychologists who are in my collective bargaining agreement, I find that to be very shady ground, as I represent them, and it could be the grounds for an unfair labor practice if you're trying to outsource my membership. I don't care what Manchester's doing, or Bedford, or Salem, or Goffstown, or anywhere else. I care what we're doing. Minimum standards are not good enough for this city. So if we could please get off that horse about, well, we should have 33 guidance counselors instead of 41. Does anyone know what a guidance counselor does every day? No, because you could go in every day in a week and they would not do the same thing 1 day, 2 days in a row. Because that's the life of a guidance counselor, school psychologist, teacher, para, food service worker, secretary, principal, the people that make a difference in our schools every day. To address the size and closing of school, does anyone remember the portables we had? Remember we leased them for a long time, and then I believe Mrs. Zeem said we should buy them. Does anyone remember how many portable classrooms we had at the 12 elementary schools? We had 4 at Charlotte Ave when I was there. You move 6th grade out, oh, that's where the space comes from. There is a lack of knowledge and foresight by people in this city. They need to be educated. They need to come into our schools. They need to talk to our teachers, our educators, our administrators, and see what school is like every day. Because things have changed, and the people in the city making these decisions have not. I encourage all of you, members of the Board of Education, Board of Aldermen, anyone who wants to enter into a school and see what it's like. I don't know how many of you spend time in schools and see what they look like. I know many of you have been invited recently in the last 24 hours to attend schools. Many of the Board of Aldermen all of a sudden are invited as well. I encourage you to go and see what our teachers and our staff do every day that is not teaching, because that needs to be addressed first. It is more important that the well-being of the child is taken care of before they're educated, because if they're not taken care of, they can't be educated. I don't know how else we need to say that, but you need to get that message, that we need to address the whole child and not just part of it. Thank you.